Mzansi Storytime. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video.
The Clever Daughter-in-Law. Once upon a time, in a small Zulu village nestled between the mountains and the rolling hills, there lived a young woman named Nomusa. Now, Nomusa was a gentle and intelligent soul, known for her kindness and patience. But when she married into a family in a faraway village, her life took a difficult turn. You see, her husband's family, her new in-laws, were not as kind as she'd hoped. Oh no, they were stern and proud, and they believed that a daughter-in-law's only purpose was to work, serve, and never speak up. They kept her busy from the first light of dawn until the stars dotted the night sky. But Nomusa, clever as she was, knew that life shouldn't be that way. She respected her in-laws, yes, but she didn't think it was right for them to treat her like a servant. And so, she decided she'd have to teach them a gentle lesson, one that would show them the strength of her spirit and the sharpness of her mind. One chilly morning, as the sun began to rise, her mother-in-law called her into the cooking hut. "Nomusa," she said with a voice as sharp as a thorn bush, "go fetch water from the river, and be quick about it." Well, Nomusa simply nodded and took up the old, heavy clay pot. But instead of filling it with water, she placed a few large stones in the pot and returned home with it empty. When her mother-in-law saw the empty pot, she was furious. "What is this foolishness?" she snapped. Nomusa looked down humbly and said, "Oh, my mother-in-law, it is the strangest thing. The river itself refused to give me water. Perhaps the river spirits are angry with us?" The mother-in-law gasped, her anger turning to worry. She dared not offend the spirits. "Very well," she said, deciding to wait until the next day to fetch water herself. And Nomusa? She just smiled quietly to herself, for she had earned a small moment of rest that morning. Days went by, and her in-laws grew even stricter, thinking Nomusa was just a simple girl who didn't know any better. One afternoon, her father-in-law called her over. "Nomusa," he barked, "we will have a great feast tomorrow, and you must prepare it. But there's only one rule. You must cook without salt. Do not dare add a single grain." Now, anyone who's ever tasted food without salt knows it can be terribly bland. But Nomusa, as clever as she was, simply smiled and nodded. She began cooking early in the morning, but she prepared the food in a way no one expected. When it was time for the feast, her father-in-law took the first bite, and his face twisted with disgust. The food was bitter, sour, and tasteless. Without salt, it was hardly edible, but Nomusa had done exactly as she was told. Her father-in-law grumbled and scolded her, but she calmly replied, "But, my father, you told me not to use salt." At that moment, her father-in-law realized that she'd followed his instructions perfectly, and that perhaps he should not give such strict orders if he didn't understand the consequences himself. Finally, there came a day when her mother-in-law decided to test Nomusa's patience and her mind even further. "Nomusa," she said with a sly smile, "go and sell this basket of sour berries at the market, and do not come back until you have sold every last one." Now, who would want sour berries, eh? But Nomusa had a plan. She took the basket and headed to the market, calling out, "Come and taste the rare, sour berries that heal your body and strengthen your spirit." People at the market grew curious. Sour berries for health? They bought them all, thinking they were some rare medicinal fruit. By the end of the day, Nomusa had sold every berry, and she returned home with a proud smile. Her mother-in-law couldn't believe it. She had set her up for failure, and yet here was Nomusa, clever and quick, turning even the worst of tasks into success. From that day on, her in-laws began to look at her differently. They could see that Nomusa was no ordinary daughter-in-law. She was patient, yes, but also sharp as a lion's claw and as wise as the old baobab trees. They began to treat her with respect, and they learned that strength is not always about power or control. Sometimes true strength lies in cleverness, patience, and the courage to stand up for oneself in quiet, subtle ways. And so, Nomusa lived the rest of her days in peace, earning not just the respect of her in-laws, but also the admiration of the whole village. They say that to this day, the villagers still tell the story of the clever daughter-in-law who won her freedom with wit and wisdom. And that, my children, is the tale of the clever daughter-in-law. Remember, no matter how small or quiet you may feel, sometimes all it takes is a clever mind and a gentle heart to turn even the hardest of situations into something beautiful.